Hello, everyone. My name is Clara. I'm one of the founders of Femme. The other founder, Lucy, is on the call today as well. Hi, Lucy.
Hi.
Thank you very much for joining us today to learn how to practice mindfulness. I hope you are all doing great tonight. For those who are joining our events for the first time, Femme is a diverse community of more than 1,500 professional women. Our aim is to help women grow in their careers through mentorship. We offer programs for the first-time managers, for business founders and professionals. And the deadline for the mentoring program is this Friday. So if you have any questions about it, please feel free to reach out to me after this event. I'm happy to help out. One last organizational remark from my end is that we will be recording this webinar for those who couldn't join us today live, except of course for the conversations in breakout rooms, etc. So just so you're aware of that. And I guess that's all from my end. And I would like to pass the word to our today's speaker, Jitka Pouzarová, who is an experienced mindfulness teacher and founder of Mindful Prague, offering first mindfulness tours in Prague. Hi, Jitka.
Hi, thanks for having me. Hi, everyone. Hope you are doing fine. And if you are not doing fine, I hope you are aware of how you are feeling, because this is pretty much all what is about. Maybe let's start by having a small poll. What would you say to showing your faces? Is it available for you? Let's make a short vote. If you click on the participants icon, down below, you will see a list. And below, you should see yes or no option. So let's try it out. And please yeah, thanks, Lucy. Okay. Let's see, it's fully up to you. I'm just checking because normally if we lead any kind of mindfulness sessions, we see each other. So I thought that maybe it might not be a lecture, but more like a workshop style, but let's see how you feel. So please, let's give it a few more seconds. If you can click on the participant icon, and then you should see down below it, yes and no. Right now it's yes, 7 for yes, 2 for no. Okay, the yeses are adding, so thanks a lot for it. But please feel free not to show yourself if the situation is not perfect. So just to see how it's gonna go. And so if you also prefer to make it, let's say, around or closer to the real situation, you can click on the right top button. It should say not speaker view, but gallery view. So it will help you also to see each other as well. When I will be sharing a presentation, which I've prepared, a very short one, then, it will automatically change. So just feel free to, if you were not aware of this option, to experiment with it. Okay, so maybe I should start with the sharing of the presentation for a few minutes, and then we'll see how it develops, because I would really like it to make it a little bit tailored to your needs, although we are quite a few of us, probably with different experiences, but let's see how it goes. Briefly about myself, I've been pretty much most of my professional life, I've been working in marketing and lately in employer branding, but mindfulness has been taking more and more of my time and of my attention, because I find it very useful for myself. I've been practicing meditation and mindfulness techniques since 2012. And since the past 3 years, I decided that I want to dedicate some time to it, to, let's say, spreading the word and to share what I know and what I've learned. And honestly, doing it for 8 years now, I have to admit that I am a complete beginner to understanding my own mind, because I think that the field is just, you know, it is vast. And if I put it quite honestly, my mind is still wandering. I am still absent-minded much of the time. And I even lost my cell phone, or forgot my cell phone today at home when I was leaving for a doctor check. So it is a journey. It is not something that you start and you are done the next day. And this is also a disclaimer from my side. If you are awaiting something quick, something like a magical pill, please save your time, because it is nothing like that. And it really requires some time and practice. But on the other hand, now the marketing part, I have to admit that after these 8 years, I can say that I am much more able to, let's say, deal with you know, difficult situations and with stress. And I am a little bit more resilient than I used to be. And I really think it is thanks to this. Just 1 second, I have to check, because Clara, you've made me the host already. I have to stop sharing. Yes. Yes, and so I think there are people wanting to join us. So sorry for this interruption. I will admit them and then continue. Welcome everyone who has just joined us.
And please feel free to cancel the waiting room.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, maybe we can see if someone is still want to join us, they can. So before I go to the theoretic part, let me know again by, let's say, voting, or you can just share in the chat. First, do you think you are 100% sure and know what mindfulness means? Okay, few no's. Yes. Okay, so it seems like the no side is now turning on. Yeah, there are more no's now, and it is great, because honestly, I think that mindfulness has become a huge buzzword in the past years. Many people are talking about it, and very few people really know what it means. Okay, Bettina is sharing her opinion. Yes, but would be curious to hear your understanding. Okay, thanks a lot for that. Well, the way I understand mindfulness is that it is, on one hand, it is a characteristic of our mind. It is something like an ability that we all have. It is something innate in us. But the problem is that most of us don't have it, let's say, trained. So it is ability to be aware of what's going on in me and around me. So it is something like an open attention to what's going on. And on the other hand, mindfulness is also a synonym nowadays for, let's say, techniques or trainings that are aimed on developing this ability. Okay, so one more voting, and then I will leave yourself to more the listening part at this moment. Have you been practicing mindfulness? It's not that all people are actually voting. Maybe you have been joining through the cell phones or not through the system. But again, just few people, only 3 people say yes, few people in the chat. So maybe we have, yeah, it's again, it's like more on the side and the, let's say, the experience has not been yet here in the group. Okay. So, and one more question, sorry, and it is, have you ever attended some, let's say, 2-month course, like an 8-week course, MBSR or MBCT mindfulness training that is really like a longer time so that people have time for it. Okay. It's much more on the no side. Yeah, only one person has done it. Okay. Thanks a lot for this. So then I think it is good that I go quite quickly with my presentation. Why is mindfulness really needed in these times? I don't know if you've heard of the word VUCA world. It is a description of the, let's say, past 10 years that has to do with the digitalization, with our huge interconnectedness and uncertainty that is, let's say, brought up by the complex world that we are living in. Pretty much meaning that the old style of planning things is not working anymore, and then we have to be more let's say centered and able to be flexible to what comes to us. And mindfulness is one of the tools. There are obviously more tools than just mindfulness, but one of the tools that help us be more flexible and more resilient to whatever comes, to the changes, to the uncertainty that is right now pretty much visible, right, in the world. Some people also call it that we are living in paid reality. With all the social media, all the information that comes to us, we are pretty much paying for this. And we are paying with our attention. So in other words, this paid reality stands for we are under constant pressure of all the deadlines and everything. We are always on. We are completely overloaded with information, and we are being distracted all the time. And it is something that's reality. Obviously, if it was not for technology, we would not be even meeting today. So it's not that technology is only on the bad side. The question is, how am I actually dealing with this? And what influences does it have on our minds? Is it that we are more focused, more happy, more, let's say, living in the present? Or is it that we are enabling all these distractions to steal our attention? And this is when the mindfulness comes into question. And obviously, this little guy came and our VUCA world has changed from one day to another. And we are living reality that looks like this. And the question is what we can do with it. Okay, so only few of you mentioned that know or are sure what mindfulness means. I will show you one a quotation. It is a definition by Jon Kabat-Zinn, who is considered to be the founder of the mindfulness movement in the, let's say, Western world. He founded the so-called MBSR program back in 1979 already. And what he did, he was meditating himself for many years before that, and he is a scientist. And he was wondering how come some chronic pain patients are not dealing with the situation well, and others are doing with it better. And he found out that the mindfulness techniques can help people relieve from chronic pain and from the way they are actually dealing with their chronic illnesses or severe illnesses. And what he says is that mindfulness is awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. Doesn't seem like much fun, right? So what does it mean? Let's try it out for a while. Let's pay attention on purpose in the present moment without judging. So, okay, the first very brief meditation may start. How can we do it? Well, obviously you can sit like you are just sitting. If there is only one tip that is very useful, is to straighten up your back when you start doing it. Why is it? Because if we start straightening up our backs, it gives our mind the possibility to be more stable. Because if we sit like this or lean back on something, the mind has the tendency of either going to sleep or the body has to change. So if possible, try to find a position that is with your back straight, but not necessarily straight like a soldier. You know, you want to find some balance in it. It is a, let's say, a dignified posture. You can leave your eyes open or just close them, whatever you feel like. And maybe just tuning into your current experience. Maybe we can start by asking ourselves, what is it here for me right now? How am I feeling? And it is not about liking or disliking our answers, because remember, it was about non-judgment. So just accepting whatever answer comes. Maybe we feel tired, maybe we feel stressed out a little bit or excited, maybe bored. Whatever answer comes, just accepted it. We can go through the body and just check in what is there. Maybe the temperature, are we cold or are we warm? Is there any tension in the body? Just checking it and accepting. Maybe tension in the shoulders. Maybe slight pain in the knee or in the lower back. Or maybe the body feels quite well. So what are we doing now is we are paying attention to something that we are feeling. It is the perception that should be in the center of our attention. Well, obviously, we are thinking people. We have the brain, so we probably have our inner talk. We comment it. I have pain in the knee. And it is perfectly fine. But what we are doing now is that we try not to be lost in the thoughts, not to be lost in the flow of the thoughts that come after, okay, my knee is in pain now. It is because I did this and that. And I cannot go, swimming, or I cannot go running tomorrow because my knee hurts. This is what our mind normally does. And it is the mind wandering. But through mindfulness, we are practicing to coming back to the present moment, to tuning into what is here now, not what will be tomorrow, and not what was when we started or before we started. If we want to be able to come back to the present when we are stressed or when we are having to focus on some important project, it is good to use the so-called anchors. One of the anchors that we can use is gravity, because this power or the fact that we are living on Earth and the gravity is having influence on us, makes the fact that whatever we do, if we are standing, sitting, or lying, we always touch something. So maybe now you can try to just tune into whatever and wherever you can feel the contact with maybe a sofa or a chair. Just tune into the feeling of the body touching something. We can tune into our feet, and probably even the feet are right now touching something, the ground. Maybe you can feel the touch of the socks on your feet. And every time we switch our attention from the thinking mind into the feeling, into the primarily experience, we are starting something that's called parasympathicus, and it is the part of the nervous system that helps us to be more healthy, to start the immune system, and put it the way to recharge our batteries. Because when we are in the doing mode, we are more on the other side of the nervous system. It is sympathicus. And the sympathicus is always started when we are dealing with some stressful situations, when we are dealing with notifications and distractions, when we are dealing with deadlines. And I think that everything in life is about balance. So obviously we have to do something, we have to produce things. But on the other hand, the question is, if we are running all the days and there is no time to reflect or to have a pause, so it is about finding the balance. If you continue in finding the anchor, so one of the anchor that we can always come to is the body, what we feel, just checking it, if there is any pain, and then accepting it, if there is maybe some sensation of pulsing, of maybe some shivering or whatever is there that appears, it can be one of our anchors. The other anchor can be gravity. And another anchor that is something that when we start with mindfulness practices, most of the time we start with the breath. Would anyone be willing to share in the chat why breath is a good idea or a good object to start with the mindfulness practice?
Hi, I might think that it would be because we all have, oh, sorry, it was in the chat, right? I jumped in it.
Never mind.
Because we have the breath always with us.
Exactly. Yeah, just like Julia also said, we have the breath always with us. It is one reason for that. And the other reason is that breath is actually the only, well, let's call it system in our body that is on one hand working by itself, and on the other hand we can regulate. Because we cannot regulate our stomachs if we ate some heavy food, and we cannot force our stomach to be working more heavily to digest. But with the breath, it is the only system in the world, in the body that we can regulate. But there is one confusion when it's connected to mindfulness practices and to breath. Obviously, if we do a really deep inhale and really deep inhale, it is great because it is relaxing and we are activating this part of the nervous system that is responsible for the so-called rest and digest, the one that starts up our immune system, the one that is in the, let's say, being mode, the one that recharges our batteries. So it is amazing. But mindfulness techniques are about observing, accepting how the things are. So when we are, let's say, working with the breath, from the mindfulness point of view, we are just observing what the breath does in our body. Why is it important? It is because mindfulness is the ability to be aware of what is happening. So on one hand, breath can be something that we focus on. It is focusing our attention on one object, and it can be many objects. You can focus your attention on a project that you are working on. You can focus on an email that you are writing, and you can focus your attention on maybe, I don't know, whatever, something else, like even a candle or, you know, a dot on the wall. But what we are doing is that if we focus on breath, we take it as an object of our concentration, and the mindfulness ability of our mind is to be aware when we lose the attention, when we shift from the breath to something else, meaning it's just boring, you know, why should I spend time by observing my breath? It is something that is a thought, and the attention at the time when I am having this inner talk is not anymore with the breath. It is with the thought. And with mindfulness techniques, we are trying to be aware of this shift of attention sooner and sooner and sooner. Meaning, we are not realizing that we let our mind capture the attention and be lost somewhere on the way from where we started. Maybe it happens after, I don't know, 1 minute, for someone after 5 seconds, and it changes. But the problem is that if our mind has this tendency of wandering away from whatever it does, from whatever we purposely decided will be our object of concentration, then what it means that it has influence on us in terms of productivity, because then we are losing the same attention when we are working on something important. Unfortunately, our life goes by without us even noticing it, because we are having dinner with our friends, or later on maybe raising children, and instead of being fully with them, we are in our minds writing emails or going through the meeting that was actually happening in the morning. So the problem of our mind wandering is something that we all have. But if we try and start practicing focusing our mind, for example, on breath, it helps us to show when the mind went away. So if I put it in other words, let's say the result or the aim of mindfulness practice is not to deepen our breath or to be able to stay with our attention on the breath for 1 hour, although it's perfect because then it sharpens our our ability to focus, but to be aware when the mind has wandered off. Okay, so if it's fine with you, maybe one more voting, because I was talking quite a lot. Would you like to try something maybe for, let's say, 8 minute breathing exercise? Are you in, or should I be more in the, let's say, talking mode and explaining what it is? Because this is an introduction to mindfulness, right? We will not be able to cover everything within 60 minutes, but please let's see what you prefer. So we have 5, 6, yes to breathing. Okay, all right, perfect. So again, let's tune into our world, into our bodies. You can straighten up the back again, and maybe closing your eyes or just having a soft gaze in front of you, whatever you prefer. And let's tune into our bodies for a while. Maybe leaving out any comments that we might have, analyzing what has been said, or planning what we will do afterwards, but just tuning into our bodies, feeling how we are touching the ground, the chair, and realizing that there is this constant in our lives. It's a companion that we have always with us, that is working for us without us realizing it most of the time. And it is the fact that our body is breathing. So maybe just gently turning our attention to the body sensations that are connected with the process of breathing. You may feel the breath, maybe in the chest, how the chest is rising with every inhale and falling down again with exhale. Maybe you may feel it a little bit stronger in your stomach and in the belly area. So just tune into it and observe what it does with your body when you are breathing. Is it a short breath or a deeper one? And maybe tuning into our tendency of controlling the breath whenever we pay attention to it. So just taking a step back and letting the body breathe the way it knows how to, and being present with it, observing. And for some, maybe it's easier to focus on the breath at the area of the nostrils. Maybe feeling the temperature of the air when it comes in and when it goes out again. So maybe for a few minutes now, let's practice mindfulness. Choose one of the areas, either the area of your nose, the chest, or the stomach area, and let's experiment with our attention. So we decide on which area of the body we will bring attention to and just observe the breath, how it goes in, how it goes out of our body. And it's not only that we are practicing. We will also observe our mind, and it will probably go off this topic. It will maybe go back to the past, maybe some fantasies, maybe commenting whatever is being done here, or maybe planning what will be next. And it is completely normal because this is what our mind does. It has the tendency to wander. But we will be trying to bring the attention back to what we decided to be in the center of our attention. And it will be the sensations in the body that accompany every in-breath and every breathing out. Where is my attention now? Am I breathing or am I thinking? Just feeling the breath. In the nostrils, in the chest, or in the stomach area. For the next few seconds. And now expanding the awareness again into the whole body. Maybe just checking again what bodily sensations are here now. Maybe realizing and noticing for ourselves how it was for us. Was our mind distracted? Was it easy to focus? And what emotions did it bring? And if it is possible, just noticing it without putting a label on, I like what I answered or I don't like what I answered. Just taking it how it was. We have 45 now, so we have 15 more minutes. And since the idea of showing us the faces was not so successful, I would suggest not doing the breakout rooms. So let's make a very brief inquiry or sharing of your experience right now. Is anyone willing to share what they noticed during this short exercise in terms of their emotions and their tendency of the mind, or whatever there was that you would like to share? Please either write it in the chat or speak out. It would be more than welcomed from my side. Julia says, I could hear my heartbeat. There is also a comment, I was distracted a lot about work-related thoughts. Someone says it helped. And it is amazing. You know, it is exactly like it is. Our experiences are all the time different. And mindfulness practice is about being aware how we have it. Perfect for someone, it was relaxing. On the other hand, mindfulness training can be actually very disturbing, because then we start noticing that we are distracted. So let's say the relaxing part comes as a nice side effect, but it's good not to expect it. Someone says, I could barely focus. After 10 to 15 seconds, mind started to wander. Anna, I have to say that 10 to 15 seconds are great. Most of the time, our mind wanders even quicker. And the question is just about being able to notice it and then shift back. Mind wanders, we are aware of it, we are gentle to ourselves, and we come back. And this is all. It was hard to catch my mind wandering. Yes, also one of the experiences many people have when they start with it, that we start the, let's say, meditation for example, 10 minutes, and we say our object of the focus will be breath. And then the alarm goes after 10 minutes, and we find out that we've been daydreaming the whole time, that the mind was wandering and we were maybe with the breath for 2 or 3 times. This is something that my teachers used to call distraction meditation. That when we busy Western people, when we start meditating, all we can actually see is that we are distracted all the time. And it is very normal. So yeah, I just just wanted to let's say normalize it, that it is a very common issue. Okay, yeah. do you ever use a mantra to help focus? Well, yeah, using mantra is another technique for you to use. It's possible to use it for focusing, but it is not a mindfulness technique. In mindfulness, it is really about the accepting what is here without using any specific tool, but it is really only about the observing. We still have few minutes, so maybe I will share the presentation again. Just to, because honestly, when I started doing this and when I started with meditating, it was completely boring for me because I am a very active person, working in communication. So pretty much I'm paid for my mind coming with ideas. So it was suffering sometimes. But after repeating it, and above all, when I had the chance to go on like longer retreats, like, you know, those suffering retreats of 10 days, sitting 12 hours without much food all the time, concentrating on your mind. And at those moments, it was when I, well, first was able to see my huge tendencies in the mind, when I found some very tangible feeling of calmness inside that is not always available for me when I am in the busy mode. And it was during the retreats when I really could understand what is all behind this. So if my only task was today to, let's say, market to you this very difficult product to market, because honestly, mindfulness is something that requires our time, and it requires changing our behaviors a little bit, and it does not bring fruits immediately. It is not an easy product to market, but on the other hand, it does bring the fruit, and the consequences are amazing. So it is about having the memory improved. It's amazing in terms of stress management. The focus increases if you are working in creative industries, because when we change the mind from the doing mode into the being mode, just observing the body, feeling the breath, whatever, it enhances our creativity, because it enables the mind to be broad, let's say, to broaden up, and then the inside ideas can come. Those that are that don't go into our brain when we are in the doing mode, when we are really just thinking over all things. The insights come when we lose it up, when we enable the, like, let's say, yeah, when we open up, when we enable it to happen. Through mindfulness, we can also work on increasing compassion, because when we realize that our mind wanders and we are all in it, no matter what our character or what our life situation is, it is a fact. We are not really in control of our minds. We are trying to be. And if we work on it, it is possible. Although it is, you know, let's say a battle that is, you know, sometimes you win and sometimes the autopilot wins. Why is it possible to, let's say, rewire the brain? It is thanks to the so-called neuroplasticity. I don't know if you've heard of this term before. It means pretty much it, that we can learn all the life. It's not that we stop learning at the age of 20 or whatever. The neurons are able to rewire. And how do they make the connection thicker and thicker? It is through experience. So if we repeat something, whatever it is, it becomes a habit, and it becomes a habit also thanks to these connections becoming more and more thick, And the connection between the neurons goes quicker and quicker, and it means that something becomes for us automatic. And it is also the bad side, because if we repeat the bad habits, they become automatic. And it means that if we have tendency to start arguing or start running away every time some situation comes to us, we are not in charge. And mindfulness practice give us, they say, maybe a second, maybe it is just a sets of seconds, some pause into our habitual reaction to whatever comes in our life, so that we are able to decide how we will respond to the situation. It is also said often that it is a difference between reaction and a response. Because when we respond to a situation, we do it mindfully. We are aware of how we are responding to it. I was mentioning wandering mind, and this number shows the average time of our wake life when our mind wanders. Meaning pretty much that half of our life is gone because we are not fully present. And it is, on one hand, a very shocking time, a shocking figure, because if you realize it, it means that our monkey mind takes us away. And mindfulness practice is about lowering this figure. Maybe we will not be able to make it a 0%, because it's a natural thing that our mind wanders. The question is, if we let it wander in the situations we don't wish to. And this is what, in my opinion, obviously there will be probably more opinions valid. In my opinion, it is the biggest benefit of mindfulness practice. Being able to choose our response wisely, to be able to be more in control, not to lead the, they call autopilot, the default mode network that is going on in our mind, but to take the, let's say, the plane into our hands. And to be able to do so, we need some anchors. So today we introduced only a few of them. It was the feeling of the body and the gravity. It was the breath. You can be practicing the anchor of, for example, the feeling in your hands, because for some people the breath doesn't really work. So you can experiment maybe at home, or you can Google some audio that will go through the very short meditation with the feeling of the hands. Or you can find an anchor of, for example, listening to sounds. Sounds are something that is only in the presence. It's not possible to plan for a sound to come to our ears. So you can be using the sounds as an anchor to the presence. And as I said before, the biggest benefit is, in my point of view, taking over from the autopilot, being able to be more aware and do decisions in life that are from our consciousness and not being influenced by our autopilot, by our habits that are running without us even recognizing it, or without us realizing them. So this is from my side. We still have few minutes for questions. If there is any, please write it in the chat. Yeah, for work routine, are there any useful breathing or mindfulness techniques for work routine? Honestly, what I think is you can start very low. You can start with only taking 3 mindful breaths. For example, and you can decide whatever it is. When you go and sit at your desk, before you start doing something, just take 3 mindful breaths. When you send out an email, just focus on 3 breaths fully, and then you will be more productive, because our mind has the tendency to stay with the email that was just sent out. So these are very small things that you can do. Or for example, when you are washing your hands, you can just feel the water touching the hands without thinking about what will come next. Which beginners books could you suggest, or authors? Honestly, I think what is very good is, I'm not sure about beginners books. Maybe I would suggest more applications. Okay, we are back in the digital world. When I was starting with meditation, they were not available, so I don't need them anymore. But I know from my friends that, for example, Calm or Headspace are applications that are helpful. For beginners books, I would probably look for, because I was more into the teacher's books. So sorry, I don't have any specific suggestion now on my mind. How can I teach mindfulness to children? There are specific programs that are amazing. I know there is one in Britain. There is also mindful schools in the US. And they have programs for teachers, but it's possible to join them. Actually, I was doing one course with them. It was called Mindful Communication. It was not aimed at children, it was aimed at adults, but it was an amazing course. So go and check. It's called Mindful Schools. And for children, the mindfulness techniques are amazing. They work with funny stuff that are easy to explain, and children are amazing students of mindfulness, because they have it honestly much closer to their real living, because they are much more in the present than we are after working for several years. Yes, I think I replied to all the questions. So we have 701. So I will go and make host of Clara.
I see Delilah is the host now, but I will reclaim it for myself. No worries at all.
Sorry,
Jitka...
I just clicked one more. Yeah, you see, I was not mindful at all. Still a beginner, just like I said.
Happens. Hopefully I will manage to reclaim it. In the meantime, Jitka, thank you so much for hosting this event for us. It was really helpful for me as a beginner in mindfulness. I hope it was helpful for the other participants too, to find that out and to maybe provide some feedback for Jitka. We will send out a survey. How did you like this event? Through Eventbrite, so please keep an eye on your email, and we will also include the recording of this event with the email. So thank you everyone for participating. Have a lovely rest of the evening, and thank you once again, Jitka.
Thank you all.
Thank
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.